The steady clacking of keystrokes filled my small apartment in Mission Valley, San Diego, as I finalized the last lines of code for a software project. As a freelance engineer and single dad, I'm always splitting my focus between work and my son, Liam, my 10-year-old waiting for me to pick him up from school in just 30 minutes. My workspace is tidy but warm with traces of our father-son life. A toy car on the shelf, a scribbled drawing, and a coffee mug emblazoned with Super Dad. I'm proud of Liam's school success, but to give him a full life, I have to work twice as hard. 10 years ago, my wife left, and I chose to stay and raise him. A decision that made my father, Richard Carter in La Jolla, see me as a failure compared to my brother Ethan, a successful lawyer in his pride and joy. Before diving into the story, comment where you're watching from and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the latest stories. Dad, you done yet? A bright voice called from the doorway. Liam poked his head in, brown hair tousled, green eyes sparkling. He wore a superhero t-shirt, holding a sheet covered in solved math problems. His eyes reminded me of his mom, a memory I try to bury, but his radiant smile is my greatest strength. I smiled, lifting my coffee mug. Almost done, buddy. How's your homework? Liam held up the sheet, proud. I finished all the math, but I've got a history question. He spoke fast, eyes lighting up. About the American Revolution, you know, the Boston Tea Party. I nodded, pride swelling. I'm always proud of Liam's schoolwork. Since my mom passed from a heart condition 5 years ago, I've raised him alone, balancing work and parenting, despite my dad's constant criticism that I lack ambition. Let me see, I said, glancing at the screen. Give me 10 more minutes, and we'll talk Boston Tea Party, okay? Liam nodded but lingered at the door, watching me curiously. My phone buzzed on the desk. I glanced at the screen, and my smile faded. Richard flashed like a cold gust. I sighed, picking up. Hey Dad, James, we need to talk about Ethan's engagement party tomorrow night. My dad's voice came through, cold and commanding as always. At our place in La Jolla, you'll be there, right? Ethan's bringing a great girl, Sarah Mitchell, a surgeon, Stanford grad, from a prominent family. I gripped the phone, the familiar sting of comparison rising. Ethan was always Dad's pride, while I was just the guy raising a kid alone. Yeah, I'll be there, I replied, voice flat. I'll bring Liam. Dad sighed, as if Liam's presence was a burden. Fine, I suppose. But make sure the kid behaves. Don't let him ruin Ethan's special day. I swallowed my anger, hurt welling up. Liam's a good kid, but to Dad, we're both extras. Got it, Dad, I said curtly, hanging up. I looked at Liam, still at the door, his eyes reading my mood. You okay, Dad? He asked softly. I smiled, standing to ruffle his hair. I'm fine, buddy. Get ready. We gotta get you out of here soon. I turned back to the screen, but my heart was heavy. Ethan's engagement party would be another challenge, but for Liam I'd face it like I always have. The car rolled through La Jolla's tree-lined streets. My heart heavy as my dad's sprawling white mansion, with its red-tiled roof, came into view, gleaming under the California sun, a symbol of everything he deemed success. I glanced at Liam in the passenger seat, carefully adjusting the blue dress shirt I'd ironed that morning. You look sharp, champ, I said, forcing a smile to ease the tension. Liam smiled back, but his eyes seemed to sense my unease. The kid's always been sharper than his years. Parking at the gate, I took a deep breath, steeling myself to enter a world I've never truly fit into. Dad's mansion was a far cry from our modest Mission Valley apartment. Perfectly manicured gardens, a shimmering pool reflecting the sun, and lively chatter spilling from inside. I took Liam's hand, feeling his small fingers grip mine for strength. Dad, it'll be okay, right? He whispered, eyes full of hope. I nodded, though I wasn't sure. We'll be fine, champ. Just be you. Pushing open the door, my brother Ethan's high-pitched laugh echoed from the living room. He stood amid the crowd, in an expensive gray suit, wine glass in hand, spinning some story that had everyone roaring. Dad, Richard, stood beside him, eyes gleaming with pride. I felt like an outsider in this glittering space, with its crystal chandeliers and tables laden with gourmet dishes. Liam stayed close, his curious eyes scanning the room. James, Liam, you finally made it, Dad said, his tone flat, his smile not reaching his eyes. In his sharp black suit, silver hair slicked back, he looked every bit the powerful patriarch. Ethan, your brother and Liam are here. Ethan turned, flashing a smile I knew was fake. James, glad you could make it, he said, but his eyes slid past me like I was a shadow. This is my fiancée, Sarah Mitchell. He gestured to a woman nearby, and my heart skipped when I saw her. Sarah Mitchell stepped forward, her dark green cocktail dress accentuating her elegant frame. Her wavy brown hair, and warm brown eyes held something familiar, like a memory I couldn't place. "Great to meet you, James," she said softly, shaking my hand. Her touch was warm, her grip gentle, unlike the coldness of Ethan and Dad. "This is Liam, right?" She smiled at my son, crouching to his level. "Hi," Liam said, shy but easing under her smile. "I'm in 5th grade, he added proudly when she asked. "That's a great age," Sarah said warmly. "In 5th grade, I made a volcano model for the science fair. What's your favorite subject?" "History," Liam answered instantly, eyes lighting up. "I'm learning about the American Revolution." I watched Sarah, struck by how she genuinely engaged with Liam. In this family, few paid attention to my son, but she seemed to truly listen. A flicker of warmth cut through the party's chill. "James," Dad's voice interrupted, snapping me back. "We need to talk about Ethan's wedding." He pulled me to a corner, away from the crowd. "Sarah's a surgeon, Stanford grad, from a prominent family," he said, voice brimming with pride, as if I needed reminding of my shortcomings. "Ethan picked a perfect match. You'll be at the wedding, right?" "Yeah, I'll be there," he said, keeping my tone steady. "With Liam." Dad sighed, as if Liam were a burden. "Fine, I suppose," he said reluctantly. "But make sure the boy behaves. Don't let him ruin Ethan's big day." I swallowed my anger, hurt rising. Liam's a good kid, but to Dad we're both extras. "Got it," I said shortly, returning to Liam, who stood alone by the buffet. Ethan and Sarah mingled with guests, but I caught Ethan's glance, dripping with disdain. "James, you'll help with the wedding, right?" he called, tone commanding. "You know, stuff like sending invitations, checking on florists. You're good at the practical stuff." I clenched my jaw, knowing practical was Ethan's code for menial. "Sure," I replied, not wanting a scene in front of Liam, but inside the unfairness cut deep. Sarah turned back, her eyes puzzled. "James, you don't need to worry about that stuff," she said softly. "The wedding's a family affair." I gave a strained smile, grateful for her kindness, but doubting she grasped the truth about this family. Dad and Ethan always saw me as an outsider, and I knew this engagement party was just the start of more hurt to come. As I led Liam to the car to head home, he gripped my hand tighter. "Dad, Grandpa and Uncle Ethan don't like us much, do they?" he asked, his voice small but sharp. My heart ached at his perceptiveness. I knelt, looking into his eyes. "It's not like that, Liam. They just see things differently. But you and me, we're the best team, right?" The days after the engagement party, I threw myself into the behind-the-scenes work for Ethan's wedding, trying to bury the sting of hurt. In my small Mission Valley office, I reviewed guest lists, sent email invitations, and coordinated with San Diego florists. The laptop screen glowed, but my mind was heavy. Dad and Ethan never asked for my input, as if my efforts were a given, unworthy of acknowledgement. I sighed, sipping coffee from my Super Dad mug, struggling to focus. Each call to a vendor, each email sent, reminded me I was just a task doer in their eyes. Liam often sat nearby, doing homework at the kitchen table, occasionally looking up to ask about the American Revolution, or share stories about soccer practice. He was my only light in those days, but I couldn't hide my sense of isolation. I knew Liam sensed it. He's more perceptive than I'd like for his age, and I hated that he had to witness how the family treated me. "Dad, why do you have to do so much for Uncle Ethan's wedding?" he asked one evening, as I checked the catering list. "He doesn't even thank you." I forced a smile, ruffling his hair. "Sometimes, buddy, we do things out of duty, not for thanks." But my words felt hollow, even to me. I wanted to shield Liam from this unfairness, but I knew he'd seen too much. One afternoon, I went to Dad's La Jolla mansion to check on preparations. The house was as opulent as ever, with pricey paintings on the walls and the scent of fresh flowers filling the living room. Ethan and Dad were discussing the reception venue, Ocean View Hotel, one of La Jolla's most luxurious spots. They didn't notice me enter, clutching a stack of vendor documents. "James, you're here," Dad said, his tone cold, like I was staff, not his son. "Make sure everything's set, no mistakes." "Yes, Dad," I replied, swallowing my frustration. Ethan didn't even glance at me, droning on about his custom tux and European honeymoon. I stood there, feeling like a ghost in my own family. In the kitchen, grabbing a glass of water, Sarah Mitchell appeared unexpectedly. In a casual sweater, her brown hair loosely tied, she looked more approachable than at the engagement party. "James, you're here," she said warmly, with a slight smile. "I was just checking the menu, but honestly, I'm not great at this stuff." I smiled, caught off guard by her friendliness. It's okay. I'm used to it, I said, setting the documents down. My family always expects me to handle the practical stuff. Sarah looked at me, her eyes hinting at something unspoken. You do more than they realize, James, she said sincerely. How's Liam? Still into history? I nodded, warmed by her mention of my son. He's working on a Boston Tea Party project. Could talk about it all day. I chuckled. And Sarah laughed too, but something in her eyes felt familiar, like a memory I couldn't grasp. You're a really great dad, she said softly. Liam's lucky to have you. Her words stopped me. Few in this family acknowledged my efforts, and her kindness caught me off guard. Before I could respond, Ethan walked in, cutting us off. Sarah, you're here? Dad needs you to review the music list. He glanced at me, eyes full of disdain. James, you done here? We need the kitchen for the next meeting. I clenched my jaw, nodding. Done, I said, grabbing the documents and leaving. Sarah's eyes followed me, apologetic, but I just gave a tight smile and walked out. Driving back to Mission Valley, the weight of isolation grew heavier. Dad and Ethan didn't just belittle me, they made me feel invisible. At home, Liam was at the kitchen table, coloring a drawing of an American warship. Dad, I finished my history homework. He cheered, holding up the sketch. I sat beside him, pushing aside my sadness. Looks awesome, champ, I said, pulling him into a hug. Tell me about the Boston Tea Party. Liam launched into an excited explanation, and I listened, letting his innocence fill the void in my heart. As night fell and Liam slept soundly, I sat alone in the living room, my gaze fixed on the dark window, where only the silent night stared back. Ethan's wedding loomed closer, and I knew it wouldn't just be a ceremony. It would be another test, a stark reminder that, to my family, I was merely a lone father with no real place among them. Ethan's big day arrived faster than I expected. Standing before the mirror in our modest Mission Valley apartment, I adjusted my old black suit. Simple but neat, not as flashy as Ethan's usual attire, but that didn't matter. My focus was on Liam. In the gray suit I'd carefully picked out, his hair neatly combed. He looked like a little gentleman. Dad, do I look okay? He asked, a hint of nervousness in his voice. I smiled, kneeling to fix his tie. You look perfect, my little man, I said, masking the anxiety rising within me. I knew today would be long, and its weight went beyond the formalities. We drove to St. Mary's Church in La Jolla, where sunlight streamed through stained glass windows, casting vibrant patterns on the marble floor. The scent of white roses filled the air, mingling with soft violin strains from the orchestra. Guests in dazzling outfits chatted lively, their laughter echoing like waves. Holding Liam's hand, I felt us both out of place among this elite crowd. Dad, there's so many people, Liam whispered, gripping my hand tighter. I nodded, guiding him to a quiet corner, dodging curious glances from Ethan's friends. Dad, Richard, appeared in a sleek black suit, his silver hair impeccably styled. He glanced at us, his smile thin. James, Liam, you're here, he said, his tone commanding. Today's Ethan's big day. Don't do anything to mess it up. I swallowed my anger, nodding. Understood, Dad, I replied, though I wanted to turn and leave. Ethan approached, a star in his tailored white suit. He flashed smiles at guests, but at me, his grin turned into a smirk. James, you're not in the wedding party, right? He said, feigning regret. I mean, we're not that close, are we? Besides, you're busy being a dad. The crowd around us chuckled, and my face burned. Liam lowered his head, his small hand trembling in mine. Dad nodded, as if agreeing. Exactly, James. We wouldn't want to burden you. Today's about Ethan. I bit my tongue, silent, squeezing Liam's hand to stay calm. I wanted to take him and leave, but I knew I had to stay, at least for the duties I'd promised. The ceremony was solemn. Sarah Mitchell entered in a stunning wedding gown, her wavy brown hair adorned with white flowers. She was breathtaking, but her eyes held a trace of tension. I stood in the back with Liam, watching quietly. As Ethan and Sarah exchanged vows, I couldn't help recalling her kind words in the mansion's kitchen. She was the only one in this family who'd made me feel seen. The reception took place at the Ocean View Hotel, a lavish venue with sparkling chandeliers and tables draped in white silk. I sat at a small table with Liam, quietly eating appetizers, avoiding prying eyes. Liam glanced at me, his voice soft. Dad, people are staring, I smiled, ruffling his hair. Just eat, champ. We're just being ourselves. During the speeches, Ethan stood, microphone in hand, beaming. He thanked the guests and spoke of his love for Sarah, and I thought things might go smoothly. But then his eyes locked on me, his smile turning sharp. "Everyone, thanks for being here," he said, sweetly. "I'm thrilled to share this special day with family and friends." He paused, staring at me. "By the way, this is my brother James, the single dad nobody wants. Anyone want to take him?" Laughter erupted across the hall, slicing into me like knives. My face flushed, heart pounding. Liam clung to my hand, his eyes welling up. "Dad," he whispered, voice trembling. I wanted to stand and yell at Ethan, but I held back for Liam's sake. I didn't want him to see me lose it. Dad rose, taking the mic from Ethan, and I hoped he'd calm things down. Instead, he made it worse. "Our brother's always so serious and dull," he said smoothly. "James is second-hand goods, but still usable, comes with a troublesome kid." The laughter grew louder, a wave drowning me. Some guests looked away, uncomfortable, but most laughed, as if Liam and I were entertainment. I sat frozen, my heart aching. Liam bowed his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. "Dad," he said, his voice breaking. I stood slowly, taking his hand, whispering, "Let's go, Liam." I couldn't stay another second. I led him toward the exit, each step heavy. But out of the corner of my eye, I saw Sarah stand, her face flushed with anger. She marched to the head table, snatching the mic from Dad. The hall fell silent, all eyes on her. Sarah took a deep breath, her gaze icy as it swept over Ethan and Dad. "Everyone," she said, her voice trembling, but firm. "Everyone," she said. "Today I'm making the most important decision of my life, but not the one you expect." She paused, her piercing gaze fixed on Ethan, whose smug smile vanished as he sat rigid at the head table. Those words just spoken, targeting James and Liam, were cruel and heartless. I can't share values with people like that. Murmurs spread through the hall. Guests exchanged glances, some whispering, others gaping. Ethan shot up, face pale. "Sarah, what are you doing?" he shouted, his voice cracking. Dad, Richard, gripped his chair, eyes burning into her. Sarah ignored them, her gaze softening as it met mine. "James, this isn't the first time we've met," she said, her voice gentler but clear. 10 years ago at UC San Diego Hospital, you volunteered, supporting my sister Emma as she fought leukemia. She paused, eyes glistening. "I was only 22 then, and your kindness and strength helped my family through Emma's final months." I froze, a distant memory snapping into place. Emma Mitchell, her name clicked like a puzzle piece. I remembered her, a young woman with a frail smile, bedridden but always trying to stay upbeat despite the pain. I'd spent hours at the hospital, comforting patients, and Emma left a lasting mark on me. I never knew much about her family, and I never imagined Sarah was her sister, Liam. Sarah continued, smiling tenderly at my son. That 5-year-old boy back then brought colored drawings to Emma. Those drawings made her laugh, even on her worst days. Her voice broke, trembling. She kept them until the very end. Liam looked up, eyes wide. "I remember," he whispered, awestruck. "I drew a warship and a cat." He glanced at me, seeking confirmation. I nodded, my eyes stinging. I recalled those days, Liam at 5, toddling beside me in the hospital, clutching colorful papers for the patients. Sarah took a deep breath, turning back to Ethan and Dad. 10 years ago, James and Liam brought light to my family, she said, her voice firmer. But today I saw how you treated them, with contempt and cruelty. I can't marry someone like you, Ethan. And I can't be part of this family. She slipped off her engagement ring, placing it on the head table with a sharp clink. The hall erupted in gasps and whispers. Guests stood, snapping photos, murmuring. Ethan lunged toward Sarah, face red. "Sarah, is this a joke? Get back here," he yelled, his suit disheveled, hair a mess. Dad jumped up, trying to stop her. "Sarah, you don't know what you're doing," he roared, but his voice faltered in the chaos. Sarah ignored them, striding toward Liam and me. "James, Liam, let's go," she said, her voice resolute. I stared, stunned, but her determined eyes spurred me. I nodded, gripping Liam's hand tighter, and the three of us walked out of the hall. Ethan's shouts echoed behind us. "Sarah, come back. I won't forgive you." Dad chased after, but he stumbled, collapsing into a chair, face ashen. Outside, the wall's blinding sunlight hit Liam's face. He still held my hand. Tears dried. "Sarah, she stood up for us," he whispered. Amazed, I nodded. feeling like I'd escaped a nightmare. My heart raced, not from anger but from something new, like a door opening. In Sarah's silver SUV, we sat quietly for a moment. She gripped the wheel, eyes still tense. "I'm sorry, James, Liam," she said, voice hoarse. "I should have recognized you sooner. I didn't expect things to go this far." "It's okay," I said softly, sincerely. "Thank you, Sarah, for standing up for us." I glanced at Liam in the back, flashing a small smile. "Sarah, I remember Emma," he said, voice clear. "She liked my cat drawing. She said it made her happy." Sarah turned, eyes welling. "She loved your drawings, Liam," she said, choking up. "And she'd be so proud of you now." I felt a deep connection, as if a decade ago, we'd been part of each other's lives. "I didn't know about you, Sarah," I said, voice low, but I can't forget Emma's smile. She was always hopeful, even when things were tough. Sarah nodded, wiping tears. "She always talked about you, James, the kind volunteer. I tried finding you after she passed, but I didn't know how." She smiled, eyes still wet. "And now, here I am, wrecking my own wedding." I chuckled, my first real laugh today. "I think you did the right thing," I said, and Liam nodded eagerly. "Sarah, you're awesome," he cheered, making us all laugh. As Sarah drove away from La Jolla, her SUV gliding along San Diego's coastal roads, the sunset bathed the Pacific in gold. I sat in the passenger seat, Liam in the back, the three of us wrapped in a comfortable silence after the storm at Ocean View Hotel. I glanced at Sarah, her hands on the wheel, her eyes still tense but softening. Liam, eyes bright, stared out the window, processing the day's events. I felt an odd relief, like stepping from a stifling room into fresh air. Sarah pulled into the Seaside Cafe, a small beachside spot. Wooden tables on the terrace glowed under string lights, waves crashing rhythmically like a lullaby. The salty air mixed with coffee and toasted bread. "I thought we needed somewhere calm," Sarah said softly, as we settled at a table overlooking the sea. "After all that," I nodded, smiling. "Good choice." Liam grabbed the menu, eyes lighting up at the lobster roll. "Dad, can I get this?" he asked, excited. I laughed, ruffling his hair. "Sure, champ. You've earned it today." We ordered lobster roll for Liam, salmon salad for Sarah, seafood pasta for me. As the waiter left, Sarah looked at me, eyes earnest. "James, I'm sorry I didn't recognize you sooner," she said, voice rough. "And I'm sorry for what you and Liam went through today. I didn't think Ethan and Richard would go that far." I shook my head, warmed by her sincerity. "No need to apologize, Sarah. You stood up for us. That's what matters." I glanced at Liam, folding a napkin into a boat, my heart easing at his smile. Sarah took a deep breath, her gaze distant. "Emma always talked about you, James," she began softly. "She called you the kind volunteer. In her final days, when pain drained her, you and Liam brought her joy. Liam's drawings, she kept them by her bed, like treasures." She paused, wiping a tear. "I've never met anyone who could do that, bring hope in the darkest times." My throat tightened. Memories of Emma flooded back, vivid as yesterday. Her faint smile, the way she clutched Liam's drawings, and whispered thanks. "Emma was special," I said, voice low. "She stayed upbeat, no matter how hard it got. I just did what I could." Liam looked up, eyes shining. "Sarah, did Emma really like my cat drawing?" he asked, curious. Sarah smiled, nodding. "Loved it, Liam. She said it was the best cat she'd ever seen." She reached out, touching his hand. "My sister called you her little artist." Liam blushed, grinning wide. I watched him, pride swelling. Moments like this, however small, were why I never gave up, despite Dad and Ethan's scorn. Sarah turned to me, eyes more serious. "James, ever wonder why I got engaged to Ethan?" she asked quietly. I shrugged, not wanting to guess. She went on, "After Emma died, I was lost. Ethan showed up, confident, charming, and I thought he could fill that void. But the closer we got, the more I saw his selfishness, especially in how he treated you and Liam. I tried ignoring it, hoping he'd change. But today," she shook her head, eyes firm. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I nodded, understanding her struggle. "You did the right thing, Sarah," I said. "It's not easy to stand up like that, in front of everyone." Sarah smiled, but her eyes were sad. "I just wish I'd seen it sooner," she said. "But maybe, everything happens for a reason." Food arrived, and we ate, a comfortable silence settling in. Liam shared stories about school and his history project. Sarah listening, asking questions that lit him up. Watching them, I felt a connection I hadn't anticipated. A decade ago, we'd touched each other's lives, and now, like a full circle, we were here again. Meanwhile, I knew Ethan and Dad were facing fallout from messages Sarah got but ignored. I heard Ethan's high society friends had turned on him, calling the canceled wedding the scandal of the century. Dad left angry voicemails on my phone, blaming me for ruining Ethan's big day. I deleted them without listening fully, unwilling to let their venom taint this moment. As we left the seaside cafe, the moon hung over the ocean. Liam yawned, eyes drooping, but he still held my and Sarah's hands. "Sarah, will we see you again?" he asked, sleepily. Sarah smiled, glancing at me, then Liam. "Absolutely, Liam," she said. "I want to hear all about your Boston Tea Party story." I looked at her, hope stirring. "Thank you, Sarah," I said sincerely, "for everything. A year has passed since the chaotic wedding at Ocean View Hotel, and my life has transformed in ways I never dared dream." I stood before my new office in downtown San Diego, admiring the gleaming sign, Carter Tech Solutions. This software consulting firm was born from late nights, big dreams, and Sarah Mitchell's unwavering support. I smiled, feeling California's warm sun on my shoulders, pride filling me. This wasn't just a business. It was proof I could rise above Dad and Ethan's taunts, that I wasn't the second-hand goods they called me. I turned, seeing Liam sprint toward me, brown hair tousled in the breeze. At 11, he's taller, more confident, with a radiant smile. "Dad, hurry, I'll be late for school," he shouted, swinging on a superhero backpack. I laughed, opening the car door. "All right, soccer captain, hop in." Liam was just named team captain, a feat that makes me prouder than ever. He's grown so much, no longer the tearful boy from the wedding hall. We live with Sarah in a cozy Pacific Beach home, steps from the ocean. Though not engaged, we're a true family. Most evenings, Sarah and I help Liam with homework or stroll the beach, listening to his tales of school and soccer. Sarah's patience and kindness have become vital to Liam's life. He even calls her the coolest Sarah, title that makes her beam. Today's special. Dropping Liam at school, Sarah and I decided to visit Emma's grave at Miramar Cemetery. Parking at the serene site, Liam held a small stone, a habit from when he gave Emma drawings a decade ago. I took Sarah's hand, feeling her warmth, as we approached the headstone etched with Emma Mitchell's name. Liam knelt, placing the stone on the grave, then looked at Sarah. "Sarah, does Emma see us?" he asked, voice clear but serious. Sarah smiled, eyes misty. "I think so, Liam," she said gently. "Emma's somewhere, watching us smile." She turned to me, eyes sincere. "James, thank you, for bringing light to Emma, and for changing my life." I squeezed her hand, throat tight. "I'm the one who should thank you, Sarah," I said. "You gave Liam and me a family, a fresh start." I looked at Liam, standing quietly, and knew Sarah's words were true. Emma, though gone, still tied us together. As we laid white flowers on the grave, I whispered silently, "Thank you, Emma." She didn't just bring Sarah to us. She showed me that small acts of kindness can change a life. Meanwhile, I've heard bits about Ethan and Dad from mutual friends. After the wedding scandal, Ethan lost his shine. His elite friends abandoned him, and he moved to a small apartment in San Diego's outskirts, working a regular office job. I don't feel smug, just a twinge of sadness. Ethan was once my brother, but his selfishness buried him. Dad, Richard, lives alone in his La Jolla mansion. He's tried contacting me, leaving half apologetic, half blaming voicemails. "James, you ruined everything," one said. "Ethan's suffering because of you." I didn't respond. His wedding taunts, second-hand goods, troublesome kid, still echo. He built this divide, and I've no energy to mend it. Driving back to Pacific Beach, Liam sang a team chant in the back. Sarah smiled at me. "You know, James," she said, "a year ago, I thought I'd marry Ethan, live a life I didn't want. Now here with you, and Liam, I've never been happier." I grinned, holding her hand. "Me too, Sarah. I never thought I'd find someone like you." I glanced in the rear view, seeing Liam's wide grin. "And this kid too. We're a team, right, Liam? Best team ever." Liam cheered, flashing a victory sign. Sarah laughed, and my heart felt light, as if past wounds were finally healing. At home the sun set, leaving Pacific Beach's sky starry. Liam ran inside, hugging Sarah before bed. "Sarah, tomorrow, can you tell me about the hospital?" he asked, eyes bright. Absolutely, she replied, ruffling his hair. I'll tell you all about Emma. I stood at the door, watching them, feeling a new door open in my heart. A year ago, I was a single dad, scorned by family, but now, with Sarah, Liam, and a true family, not by blood, but by love and respect. On Christmas Eve, I sat with Sarah and Liam by the fireplace in our cozy Pacific Beach home. Flames danced, reflecting off the twinkling tree and colorful gift boxes. Gingerbread cookie scent filled the air, blending with soft Christmas music. Liam, eyes aglow, clutched a just-opened gift, a model American warship set. Dad, Sarah, look, he cheered, holding it up. Sarah laughed, ruffling his hair. Little artist turned sailor, she said, voice full of love. As Liam yawned, ready for bed, Sarah quietly pulled a small box from her pocket. She handed it to me, eyes shining. James, this is for you, she said, voice trembling. I opened it, revealing an emerald ring glinting in the firelight. This was Emma's, Sarah whispered. She said, when you find someone truly special, give it to them. My heart raced. I took Sarah's hand, looking deep into her eyes. Sarah, you and Liam have brought light to my life, I said, voice thick. Will you marry me? Let's be a real family, not just by blood, but by heart. Sarah smiled, tears streaming. Yes, James, she said, hugging me tightly. Liam whooped, leaping into our embrace. We're a real family now, he shouted, making us all laugh. Outside, rare snowflakes fell on Pacific Beach, like a new beginning. The story of James Carter and at my brother's wedding. He and my father mocked me, calling me a single father and a used product, mirrors real issues in today's U.S., especially the pressure on single parents, society's success expectations, and the value of kindness. James, a San Diego software engineer, faced mockery from his dad Richard and brother Ethan, labeled second-hand goods for raising Liam alone. This unfairness reflects U.S. biases, where single parents are often undervalued, despite sacrifices like James's unacknowledged wedding tasks for Ethan. His journey, from isolation in La Jola's mansion to building a new family with Sarah in Pacific Beach, shows resilience and kindness power. Sarah, canceling the wedding at Ocean View Hotel to defend James and Liam, embodies courage in prioritizing personal values over social pressure, a lesson for America's often appearance-driven culture. The moment James and Liam place a stone on Emma's grave at Miramar Cemetery reminds us that small acts, like Liam's drawings, can leave lasting impacts. Takeaway. In America's fast-paced life, cherish kindness and support over superficial success standards. Be brave like Sarah, standing against injustice, and persistent like James, pursuing family happiness. For true family is built on love and respect, not fame or wealth. Subscribe to follow James, Liam, and Sarah's touching journey, and more meaningful stories about family and kindness. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video with deeper life lessons.